I am Pierre Olivier Persin. I'm a prosthetic makeup designer. I do prosthetics and special makeup effects, and I was a prosthetic designer on the substance.
Mm. Is there a particular song to which you listened so many times that when you hear it now, it gets on your nerves or gives you the shivers?
A song, yeah. That's an odd but good question. Actually, when I love a song, I play it until I'm sick of it. So there are many songs that I can't barely can't stand anymore because I played them too much.
You have been doing several fantastic films in your career still now, and I was wondering if you could say which were the biggest challenges.
On that movie, the substance was the biggest challenge of my whole career. I mean, many times when we work on a show, or I work on a show, and um, it's always tricky. We are always building. It's always tricky what we are doing. Prosthetics. It's a tricky thing, and but on the substance, it was everything was tricky, and day after day, and there was a list of there was a 5 pages list of effects to do. So on many movies, like, oh, okay, we have that tricky thing to do, and that trigger, and that's it. And on the substance, oh, we have 20 tricky things to do. So by far, that was the biggest and most challenging project I've ever worked on.
How precise were the ideas of the director when you first started?
Coralie Farja, director, was really involved with the effects. Sometimes you speak with directors, and after a certain point, they say, "Okay, you go ahead and you do your things." And Coralie was really involved into to and a little, I don't know, to any little bump and little texture to anything. We could restart something just because some a bump was just too big or too small. Too, it was she was really involved. But at first, she knew what she had in mind, but maybe she didn't have. She knew what she wanted, but she didn't have the image in her mind. And she wrote the script that was her. That is her world, for sure. That's really Carly's world. So that was really great to jump into. But at first, it was trying to design and to come up with something that will serve, yeah, come with designs that will serve her vision. And that was the trickiest. I mean, some of the designs went very quickly actually, and so a few characters was like, okay, we designed them and it was okay, and some of other characters were trickiest and more difficult to find, so we did tons of designs. That was really important to design everything.
Did you have references that inspired you to design the characters or to design the visuals?
I mean, you don't create in a vacuum. So we always have references. Coralie had many references. I had two, but we tried to come up with uh, something new. Or if we were going too far into, sometimes I remember Coralie saying to me, "Oh, I really like that, but it looks too much like the thing. We cannot do that." And it was like she was like, "Yeah, I love it, of course, but nah, everybody would think it's the thing." And so it's cool. We both love the movie, but so sometimes the references were obvious, and they were, and that's what Carly wanted. It's like, yeah, I want that, and that's a reference, and we make it obvious, and uh, that was completely assumed. And sometimes. Yeah, we tried to. I don't know. It. There was a little bit of a geek thing making the movie, and try to come up with something new. So it was, but yeah, references. I don't know. Sometimes we were referencing to movies, but not to steal one particular effect. Maybe to steal the atmosphere or to put it in a different mood or in different movie. Sometimes we were talking about uh, there's one character. There is no gremlin in the movie, but of course, but you've seen the movie. But one character who we called her the gremlin, even though it's not a gremlin at all. But in our minds, in our geeky minds, it made sense. It was even written in the shooting schedule. So we had the Requiem stage, we had the Gremlin stage, and for us it made sense, but it was not. We were not stealing from.
You just mentioned it already a little bit that Coralie was very precise on things. How could you say a little bit more how the collaboration between you and her was?
First, it started with meetings and reading the script. Lots of meetings, very long meetings to try to understand what she wanted. Very early on, I understood and I loved that she wanted to use as much as practical effects as possible, and with no disrespect with our friends, VFX friends, and but that was what she wanted, and that was really cool and refreshing, and in an AI world to come up with lots of practical effects was really cool, and so even when we were talking with with VFX, and we were trying to because there were lots of effects that were we had to come up with ways of doing them. When you do an edge makeup, you know how to do an edge makeup, an edging makeup, okay, or you do a dead body, okay, you do a dead body. But some of the effects we had to figure out, and yeah. Sometimes we're talking with VFX, and even me, I was saying, oh, let's do that with VFX. It's going to be great and easy, and easy for me and complicated for VFX maybe, but cool. And Carly was like, no, I want practical effects. And so we just had to scratch our heads, and that was really cool. So that was meetings and talking with every department, sets, building, and everything, costumes and VFX and Coralie, of course, and then designs, like I said, and then when we started building things, Coralie was coming quite often to the workshop, and I was sending her pictures, but she was coming to see the sculptures and everything we were doing, and even when we were live casting, for instance, or scanning an actress in a certain position, if she couldn't be there because she was busy prepping the film, I was taking pictures or video, was sending the pictures to Carly and say, is the position all right? I moved the arm a little bit like that, and so we had exactly, yeah. She was really, really precise. She loves Stanley Kubrick. Obviously, when you watch the movie, there are a few references, but she's a little bit like that in every detail has to be right.
I was wondering which materials you use to create your prosthetics and everything.
Well, mostly nowadays, and what we used on the show was made out of silicone or silicone gel, or most of it was silicone, but because it was and we use lots of chemicals, urethane, epoxy, polyester, lots of nasty stuff, acrylic, but mainly silicone. Everything we glue on actresses is absolutely skin proof, and I mean it's made to be applied on skin, obviously, so it's really safe. But also we used very old school techniques for a few effects like gelatin and wax, and really going back to, I don't know, Raiders of the Lost Ark and that kind of things, really. And so every tricks in the books.
How did you compose these things, or can you recycle them?
Not really. Well, the way it depends, because on that show we had tons of prosthetics. What I mean by prosthetics is an appliance that you apply, yet you stick on someone else's face, and then you paint, and you have like prosthetic makeup on an actor. So that's one thing. And then we had like you can build dummies or puppets, like sophisticated puppets, And so we built quite a few too. You can also build suits, like a suit, like a complete rubber suit or whatever, or silicone suit or rubber suit, if you want to cover the whole body. And then we also had like special makeup effects, like I don't know if something explodes or grows back or whatever, some crazy stuff that you cannot do on a real person. So we also did that. So so yeah, it depends on what we were doing. But for prosthetics, for instance, once you have a mold, you have negative mold, and from that you can cast uh, cast as many pieces prosthetics as needed. So if you have 20 days of aging makeup or a particular makeup, you can cast 20 sets of prosthetics and apply them on a day, because it's one set of prosthetic a day. At the end of the day, we throw it out. But so yeah, but we everything we made for the movie was brand new and was made obviously for the movie.
How long did it take for the actresses to prepare for the shooting?
Depend depending on what we were doing, I would say, because we did many things on them. I would say between 2 hours and a half and 6 hours. There were some really gruesome and complicated makeups.
That means there were also quite long interruptions between the shootings, in between, or between the
Well,
scenes.
good question. I knew I've worked many times with the first AD, Mathieu de la Mortière, and it's really important very early on, from the very beginning, to speak with the AD and the first AD. And so when he makes the shooting schedule, he can organize the schedule accordingly, obviously. And so when we knew that those days, the certain days, we were going to have like very complicated makeup, we start with the makeup, and the days were organized. The shooting days were organized, sometimes, not every day, but many days, thinking of the special makeup effects that we're going to shoot that day. For instance, at the end of the shoot, we had like 3 weeks or a month of what we call the lab, just with a reduced crew, smaller crew, just to shoot makeup effects and other effects actually, and that were time consuming to do during the actual shoot. But yeah, the the shooting was organized with that in mind, so that was great.
Let's say, what were the particular challenges on the shoot? As really, really big challenges.
There were many. um, all, everything was a challenge, I think. But I don't know, because, like I said, it was everything in itself was a challenge. Everything was different because um, even we, there's just one effect, which is the simplest effect, where there's one finger getting old. All right, just one finger. So I'm not talking about the we've done big stuff, but just that one finger. Okay, but if you apply, if you prosthetic makeup is an additive process. You add volume. You cannot take the volume off. Obviously, you can do that with VFX, but we cannot do that, or we need to do puppet or whatever. But if it's prosthetic, you add volume. So if you want to have a shrunken finger, right? But you can see the real fingers also. They are normal. And so if the normal the age finger is bulky and fat, and because of the prosthetics, it will look like a Mickey Mouse or E.T. finger, and it will look ridiculous. So and that is tricky, to add volume, but to make it look like it's smaller, because you can compare. And we had that a lot. Like we had full arm and full leg that was completely aged and shrunken, and the other arm and the other leg was normal. So and you have to make it work, and then not make and you don't want it to look too obvious. And so just that was tricky. On the other hand, we had to do very big and fat creatures too. So that's the complete opposite, and you want to make it work, or and design, come up with the design, and or tons of blood. I mean, there was Jean-Miel, who was the special on-floor special effects supervisor, come up with all the blood rig that were very sophisticated. So it did a great job with his crew. But it has to come through our effects also. So we had to deal with that, because when you have one suit, for instance, and it's soaked with blood, and you have to shoot for a full week with hundreds of liters of blood coming through, for instance, there's lots of maintenance, so that's tricky. Or we had to come up with ideas, because, like I said, many times Coralie wanted practical effects, things nowadays that would be done with using VFX. We were doing it live. So if we were doing like a head growing back, or we had to do it live and come up with old school ideas, really. And so everything was a challenge, really.
How was it to work with Demi Moore?
She was great. I mean, it could be, um, it could sound as if I'm just being polite, but it's the truth. She was the real trooper, because we put her under, wow, really, really hard, uh, very long, gruesome, long prosthetics makeup. Uh, and then she after that, after 6 hours of makeup, she has to act and be good on camera. So when our job is finished, her job starts. And she was a trooper. She was never complained. She just had her little Chihuahua, a dog, with her, and that was the only thing she asked for, to have her Chihuahua with her. And apart from that, she was a joy to work with. Really great. I have nothing but respect for her.
I wonder if you could a little bit describe the most important elements for each of the both female characters, as like Demi Moore's part and Margaret Qualley's part. What were the looks? What were the most important elements for their look?
Yeah, they are very different. There is one skinny creature, and there is one big creature. So yeah, they were really different. Hmm. The most difficult was to come up with Margaret's transformation creature design. Sorry. The most difficult was to come up with Margaret's design, and all the Demi Moore designs. It was tricky, and it was lots of work, but we came up quite quickly with them. The Margaret's designs were more complicated. And because, yeah, uh, I don't know, it was to have a feeling of a crazy feminine creature. I mean, when you are a male prosthetic designer, Corley didn't want a male design. And I guess that was it. I mean, and who am I to say, because I am a man. So, but I really tried not to come up with a big rubber monster design, and try. I don't know if we were successful, but yeah, I think that was important for her. And so I don't know if you know Niki de Saint-Phal. She was she was a French artist, and in the 60s, or she was amazing. And they are like dancers, female dancers, and they are like big chubby features like that, but they are like ballerina on just on tiptoeing, and I guess we wanted that a little bit.
As for the monster in the end, I was wondering where the idea came from.
I guess I've been hired on a movie. I guess I've been contacted by the one of the producers, the French executive producer. And so I read the script. I met Coralie, and Coralie said to me, she came to the workshop, and she said to me, "Okay, I know you can." And she was talking to, as you do, to other effects companies, and which is normal. And she said, "I know you can come up with all the effects, the distorted bodies and exploding heads or whatever, but I'm freaking out about the monster at the end of the movie, the design of that creature, and I know she asked another company to come up with designs, and they were great, but they were very masculine, very and I think she didn't like them, but so when I saw that, I thought, okay, they are great, they were great, but they are not feminine enough. And so I was not working on a movie, but at night, uh, after work at the workshop, and I sculpted a small maquette, a small design that was very rough, very, very, very rough, of what could be Monstro. Just like that, as a, I don't know, like that. And I sent the pictures and videos to Coralie. And she said, okay, it's not, there's lots of work still to be done, but that's exactly the direction I want to go. And I guess I've been hired based on that very crude maquette. But after that, we spent months really trying to come up with the design. So, for instance, we did plastiline, like clay maquettes. We did 3D sculpting. We did from very old school to cutting edge technology. We tried everything from drawing to Photoshop to, or even sometimes Carly was coming to the workshop. I was sculpting in front of her, changing something. We were taking pictures. We were photoshopping uh, one element, and then she was like, okay, and she was, I don't know, leaving, and then I was doing the changes, and that was an endless process like that until finally one day she said, I love the body, and then we worked on the head a little bit and said, I love the head. Now you go ahead.
Maybe a stupid question, but was it played by one of the actresses or how?
Yes. Margaret is not all the time, but all the close-ups. The Carly really wanted a performance from the actress, the eye and everything. I have to say that I was like, no, we should put stunt double all the time in a suit. But Carly knew better, and she's like, no, I want, yeah, it's not just a rubber monster. And but we had also all the wide shots were done using a stunt, very strong double, and all the emotional stuff was done using Margaret.
You already gave a little bit of hints that might be a part of this answer or your answer. Is you have been working with both male and female filmmakers, and I was wondering if you thought or if you can say there is a different approach from to this makeup and all these looks and
Yeah, for the monster at the end, definitely, um, definitely. Um, for the monster in the end, really. For the rest, no, because I mean, in a way, but not really. I mean, we knew we were into Carly's world, um, but after that, when I work with the director, I mean, I can, yeah, the sensibility of the director is really important to try to understand. But apart from that, I don't see the director as a male or female. That's the director.